Bag, I want the bag. Work my way from a garden to a track. Flip it from a track to a plot full of acres. Do it for the farmers and producers and the makers. What we even here for? Occasionally I ask it. I know it's more than struggling, anticipating the casket. Reap what we sow, trying to fill up my basket. Life's a plantation, I self-law and master. Over the plot I've been granted on this planet. Now it's slanted, cause the chosen been supplanted. But if you overstand it, it was spoken. Fractured, but we ain't broken. Even though some would rather play the role of token, we growing. Black through the essence of a presence. We carry the blood of gods, we carry the mind of peasants. Rich black gardens, future look more like Eden. Multiply seeds like the seed banks in Sweden. Rep my planners on plan according to season. B1 code, switching it up is treason. Black power, family what we eat. Either we get fed or we feed. B1AG.
What's growing on? What's growing on? What is growing on? Welcome to Daily Bread, the B1AG Daily Bread podcast. I'm John Henry Harris. We have Farmer Brown MC. Welcome Black to the Garden. Here at B1AG, we speak on Black agriculture as it pertains to agricultural production, education, marketing, health, food, nutrition, all for the Black family, for the Black community. Today's going to be an interesting story. We've been talking about for months about the possibility and the research going into edible vaccine vase. Well, they're here now. There's a Canadian company called Medicago, and they are introducing the world the first plant-based jab. Now, it has not been approved, but they are showing that this plant-based jab does have high efficacy rates against this disease that is taking over the world. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to point out Medicago develops plant-based C19 jab. But but here at B1AG, we have the Facts-innations behind the research, and we're going to follow the science, and we're going to dig deep for you and present this unbiased vaccinations for you regarding a plant-based jab. Farmer Brown, let's get started.
First, I'd just like to say peace to the B1 family. Hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, we're here to drop some vaccinations. And so one of the key components when we talk about this B1 conversation, education is a big piece, and education doesn't stop in a classroom. Some of the best education you get is getting your prints in the mud. And in some cases, as we see the world going into, it's into the labs as well. What does research mean? Research is the investigation into a study of materials and sources in order to establish facts, to reach new conclusions. Nowhere in that definition said that you have to be in a laboratory. Nowhere in that definition said you had to have a lab coat or all of these degrees. It's basically finding materials and sources to establish facts to reach conclusions. And so today's conversation, we're going to be doing a little bit of verbal linguistics. Yes, a plant-based jab and the edibles. And so here at B1AG, we like to stick to the facts, and we brought some receipts today. And so we're not going to insert our opinion. We're literally just going to follow the science. We believe in the code, follow the science. And so if you would go on and bring this up, I hope the family watching doesn't take this as long-winded, but we want to make sure everybody looking today understands what's going on. And so to preface this conversation, as of December the 7th, if you want to go to the next slide, COVID vaccine plants measures up. And so this is off of NPR News. And what this meant, basically, this company Medicago actually came up after research. Somebody took the time, some of your taxpayer dollars, other funders decided, hey, this is important to us, so we're going to invest in this. And so there was research put into using plant-based materials to develop this jab. And so here at B1AG, like I said, we frame our conversation around agriculture, but I think this is a great story since we know that this pandemic, however you want to frame it, has been going on around the world. Our goal today is to really point out to you some of the research that's gone into this, some of the, we'll say, treatments, genetic therapies gone into, how to treat this. And not only what other people have going on, but what can we do as a melanated family when it comes to our food security, when it comes to agriculture. So if you can go to the next slide. And I hope you would pardon the tent. So right now we're trying to, dance around these algorithms so we can push this B1 algorithm. And so Medicago had already developed an experimental flute Facts-innations with nicotine, a plant related to tobacco. When the pandemic struck, the company decided to make a OVK-injects Facts-innations. Now it appears those efforts have succeeded, according to NPR. This is an incredible moment for Medicago and for novel Facts-innations at platforms, Medicago CEO Takashi said in a statement. Facts-innations Earthway by showing the immune system something that looks like a virus but isn't. Doing that allows the immune system to prepare itself in case the real virus would show up. So this is what came out a few days ago. This was touted as a great success. We're constantly told to follow the science. And so what we're going to do in these next slides is see how far this science goes back. This didn't come out of nowhere. So real quick, basically this concept, this is what it looks like. And so, I'm not going to go over each of these details, but basically you're taking a plant, you're putting it in a lab process, and it can either be distributed edibly through a peel or through a jab. These are agricultural products. And so the Medicago, they had actually done, like I said, research with tobacco. And so now I don't think they divulge which plants they're using. And then when we talk about edibles, we actually have some slides later to show this is actually fruits and vegetables that people eat. And so once again, we're going to try our best not to insert our opinions and really stick to the facts. And so the next few slides are going to be published research information. If you could skip this one, we'll go to this last, advantages and disadvantages. So this work has actually been going on in the 80s. We have reported, I think it was UC Berkeley in California, had been researching this, edible abs, Jay, since the 80s. But according to Wikipedia, once again, we're trying to come with receipts. Project Greenbacks in 2005, DARPA, Accelerated Manufacturers, a pharmaceutical program that was created in response to emerging novel biological threats. This was in 2005. And so there was these novel biological threats way back then. In 2009, DARPA offered a government contract for a non-GMO plant-based systems expressing recombinant proteins. We can skip to that page, but the purpose of putting that up is just to kind of give you a timeline of how long this is actually going on. When we think about the edible abs, Jay, and so this is from the National Science Foundation. These aren't fringe, left-wing or right-wing sites. These are taxpayer-funded organizations. National Science Foundation. You asked for it, so hey, we'll give it to you, fam. Edible jabs. And so, we see the mandates going on right now. We see that there's a lot of people in distress. There are some hard life decisions that people have to make around these jabs. There is also this concept of problem, reaction, solution. And so when we think about the timeline, and this is 2000 that the National Science Foundation actually started putting money towards developing edible jabs. As we get later in these slides, you'll see some of the main proponents and funders and foundations that have invested billions of dollars into these. Not to digress, when we think about the melanated farmers, we understand that healthy food is like the best medication when we're talking about health. And so one of the questions we do have is, now, has this much effort and resources been put into people being able to produce fresh food as it has been into edible jabs, edible, treatments? Go to the next slide. And so this is year 2000. Axainve cornucopia. Transgenic Axainve implants new hope for global vaccination. Infectious diseases are still a major threat to life for children and young adults in the third world, causing more than 1.3 million deaths a year. According to the WHO, World Health Organization, diarrheal diseases such as cholera, dysentery, and typhoid fever alone claim nearly 2 million lives a year among children under 5. Under 5. There's some other discussions about getting other treatments to children under 5. Antibiotics to combat these infections exist, but their improper use has largely contributed to the gradual erosion of their efficacy due to the development of resistance. If you could move the banner. WHO pointed out that to the U.S. House of Representatives, we may only have a decade or two to make optimal use of medicines presently available. This is in 2000. This is in 2000 that the WHO went to the U.S. House of Representatives and said we may have a decade or two to make optimal use of the medicines presently available. Meaning, hey, what we have now to treat these problems, they're not going to work after 20 years. We don't have to be mathematicians. What happened 20 years later from 2020, 2000? We had 2020. We had a global pandemic. This is 2004. Commercialization of plant-based Axainve from research and development to manufacturing. And this is from the NIH. We encourage the family, if you actually want this slide for your own research, hit us up at B1AG at B1AgHipHop@gmail.com. This is the commercialization. How do we make this a product that can be sold? This conversation was going on in 2004. The benefits of using plant-based oral Axainve are discussed. Transgenic maize expression, and that's corn, expressing an antigen of transmissible gastroenteritis virus is reported as a model to demonstrate efficacy. Young pigs that were fed the TGEV corn orally were protected against challenge with virulent TGEV. Additional parameters important in providing a reliable and consistent supply of plant-based Axainve are discussed. Finally, Axainve developed in corn are evaluated for their potential to contaminate either food supply or the environment. So what this means was, okay, we want to make this a product that we can sell, but we understand what GMOs, and this is a conversation we've had before here on B1AG. Okay, maybe in this field over here, I have GMO corn, and maybe my neighbor wants to go organic. Well, we know the wind blows. We know the pollinators don't understand the concept of property line. So what happens is, okay, what I'm growing, genetically modified over here, if the wind blows it on your land, now that's going to get mixed with your what was originally an organic operation. When we go into the law of how this works, and so now if my patented GMO corn happen to go over on your land, I have legal rights to your land. And so when we're thinking about these plant-based Axainve, we're here to ask questions. Neither of us are doctors. We know how to read a little bit. So the question lies, so what if my neighbor decides he wants to get into some of this research money, these billions of dollars put into plant-based Axainve, and whatever this plant was that has, whatever this chemical makeup in it is, gets on my property, what does this do to my crop? And so these are just some questions to ask, and this is 2004 from the NIH. Go to the next one. This is also from the NIH in 2009. Plant-based oral Axainve, results of human trials. I think there was a book by Robert Kennedy, kind of talking about the head scientist that tells us to follow the science in North America right now. And we've heard about some of the human trials when we think about the HIV drugs and other drugs that have caused some, questionable effects, especially when we talk about the melanated community. And so the abstract is Axainve, consisting of transgenic plant-derived antigens, offer a new strategy for development of safe, inexpensive Axainve. The Axainve antigens can be eaten with the edible plant or edible part of a plant purified from plant material. In phase 1 clinical studies of the prototype potato, keep that word in mind, potato, and corn-based axainzve, axainzve have been safe and immunogenic without the need for a buffer or vehicle other than the plant cell. Transgenic plant technology is attractive for axainzve development because these axainzve are needleless, stable, and easy to administer. Not to digress as you go to the next slide. And so right now there's this concept we keep getting hit with called hesitancy. And so if there's this problem and I'm selling you the solution, oh, I know you don't want the pain of this needle. You know you don't like these syringes, but I have another solution for you. You can eat it. You know, maybe if I put this in your meal, maybe if I put this, made this available through something you could eat, maybe you feel better about it. I know there was this discussion like, man, how did y'all come up with this in Operation Warp Speed so fast? And so, you know, one of the questions I would like to the melanated family to ponder over is how much work had already gone into what we saw as the solution in 2020. I don't know, but I think this is a question we all have to ask. If we know the science and research had gone into edible forms of this medical mitigation, how long had the other been studied? So this is from 2010. This is 2010. Obama was still in office. A lot of people were still punch drunk by seeing melanin in the White House. But Medicago was awarded $21 million from the U.S. Department of Defense. And so to fast forward to what we saw, the December 7th story about, okay, we're successful. This goes back to 2010. Medicago to develop an axainzve facility in Research Triangle Park, North Carolina. What else was in North Carolina before it got shipped over the ocean to Uhaanway? I want the melanated family to connect the dots. It's Pee Wee Herman. Connect the dots, la, 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 la. So Raleigh and Quebec City, August 10th, Medicago USA, a wholly owned subsidiary of Medicago Inc., a clinical stage biotechnology company focused on developing high-quality, effective, affordable axainzve based on proprietary manufacturing technologies and virus-like particles, today announced that it has been awarded $21 million grant from the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA. Broad agency announcement, Defense Sciences, Research, and Technology to demonstrate the scalable manufacturing of its Plant Express, if you can move the banner for me, technology to demonstrate the scalable manufacturing of its Plant Express VLP axainzve in the USA under a technology advancement agreement. Technology. We're not talking about biology now. There's a difference between biology and technology. Go to the next slide. But saying this to say, in 2010, people understood, okay, we want to incorporate technology and in treating biological organisms, what we'll call humans. We want to use this tech to treat the bio. Once again, we're not scientists, but I think these are some very important questions. DARPA-funded researchers, tobacco versus viral terror. Viral terror. This is 2010. Like I said, I would encourage the family to fact check us. Reach out to us at B1AG@gmail.com if you want these for yourself. The Pentagon's after a better way to strike back against infectious diseases and biothreats. Now a team at Texas A&M may have come up with the way to turn tobacco plants into axainzve making machines. Absolutely, family. DARPA, the military's risk-taking research agency, is investing $40 million into the Texas Plant Express axainzve consortium, which will test the tobacco-based axainzve. Go to the next. This is military. Once again, North Carolina. And so UNC, and this is 2011. UNC spinoff wins Gates backing for axainzve nanomedicine work. Just last week, we were talking about these self-replicating robots. Nano. We're dealing with the nano, these little small things, right? This is 2011, Chapel Hill, NC, a triangle-based UNC spinoff company at the forefront of efforts to use nanotechnology to tackle diseases has received $10 million investment from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. If you can move the banner. Liquida Technologies, which was founded on the discoveries of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill scientist Joseph D. Simone, will use the foundation's equity investment to support the development and commercialization of safer and more effective Axay in therapeutics. Therapeutics meaning gene therapeutics, but this is 2011, backed by like the smartest guy and the largest farmland owner in North America. Go to the next slide. This is out of Reuters in 2014, and I hope I'm not wearing the family out, but we want to be very concise with our conversation today. Plant-based Axay challenges Big Pharma for $3 billion in the flu market. I know some people said the cure for the flu was the vid. $3 billion. I hope the family's looking at these numbers. You know, the Black Farmers and the Farmers of Color Act were supposed to receive what, $4 billion for debt relief, and this is supposed to be spread across to farmers of all of these different groups within socially disadvantaged. So once again, when we think about where our tax money is going, we're not here to throw shade on anybody, more so than to ask some very specific questions. Now, I did think that healthy food was a tool when it comes to creating health amongst the community. New York Reuters. Two tiny companies are preparing to challenge some of the world's largest drug makers in the battle for dominance in the $3 billion global market for influenza Axay armed with little more than tiny tobacco plants. This is 2014. Big bag, $3 billion bag. Going back to the research publications, like I said, this isn't our conjecture. This is following the science. This is 2014 also. And this is also through the NIH. Plant-based Axay as global Axay approach. Current perspectives. And these are genetically engineered plants. Go to the next one. This is 2015. I hope the family sees the progression. And there's like I said, this is literally for the family that's watching. This is scratching the surface of how much research has gone into this. I'll be very honest. I didn't know anything about this until we had done a podcast a few months back when the discussion came up about edibles. And so when you really deep dive, and like I said, not looking at the stories or the news publications, but really go to the science, go to the NIH, go to the National Science Foundation. They tell us to follow the science. So follow what the science is doing and follow the timelines. Plant-based Axay for animals and humans. Recent advances in technology and clinical trials. It has been, and this is the abstract family, it has been about 30 years since the first plant engineering technology was established. This is 2015, so 30 years before 2015, the first plant engineering technology was established. Although the concept of plant-based pharmaceuticals or Axay motivates us to develop practical commercial products using plant engineering, there are some difficulties in reaching the final goal, to manufacture an approved product. At present, the only plant-made Axay approved by the United States Department of Agriculture is a Newcastle disease Axay for poultry that is produced in suspension cultured tobacco cells. The progress towards commercialization of plant-based Axay takes much effort and time, but several candidate Axay for use in humans and animals are in clinical trial. This review discusses plant engineering technologies and regulations relevant to the development of plant-based Axay. This is 2020. What happened in 2020? The world changed. The world changed in March 2020. How a secretive Pentagon agency seeded the ground for rapid cure. I knew back in 2005 when I first put this bag on this that there might be a problem, this bio threat. Go to the next slide. This is 2020. GMO tomato as edible vid Axay. Mexican scientists work to make it a reality. Go to the next slide. This is also 2020. An edible Axay development for the vid disease 2019, the concept. A novel was emerged in December 2019 from Wuhan City. China has now become a global threat to human health. Currently, the vid it has spread to more than 34 countries with 2,400. My, how we've come a long way to 78,811 confirmed cases. Currently, there is no Axay available against the traditional Axay development requires more time and high cost. Due to this, the disease outbreaks become more challenging. Nowadays, plants have become more attractive platform edible Axay production than other systems. The development of an edible Axay in a selected plant system has many significant advantages, such as easy and efficient oral delivery, low cost with higher scale production, avoidance of any trained medical personnel for delivery, lack of any pathogenic infection. That was interesting. Low cost with higher scale production, avoidance of any trained medical personnel for delivery. And so, even if you've been working this last year, I really don't need you no more. All I got to do is just make this available. And maybe I'm thinking out loud. So as we tie this conversation together, just for a little discussion. So who is the largest farmland owner in North America? It's your boy. 242,000 acres of farmland. We understand this, computer guy. We're not here to throw shade. We're just, putting the facts out there. Research is investigating in the study of materials and sources to establish facts and reach new conclusions. And so this person is very fascinated with helping the world, and especially countries highly populated by melanated people, through Axay. We look 874 acres in North Carolina. When we look at Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida, this is some of the most arable farmland in what we call North America. And when you're a property owner, we're always told to follow the science and follow the money. So what is money investing in? A part of our conversation, family, go to the next slide. The elders tell us, put your money where your mouth is. And so the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation funds 78 new initiative global health projects, including cell phone blood tests, carnivorous plants, and sweat-triggered Axay. Sweat-triggered. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation pledges $1.6 billion to Gavi, the Axay Alliance, to protect the next generation with life-saving Axay. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation pledges $50 million to increase access to safe and affordable Axay to lower-income countries. We want to help these poor people. You're in the country with the most material wealth on the planet, but we want to help you because you're so poor. And I just happen to use the materials you use to make my computers and all of this technology. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation commits up to $120 million to accelerate access to OVK for lower income countries. Calls on others. You can take the slides down. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation today announced 78 grants of $100,000 each. In the latest round of Grand Challenges exploration, grants include development of low-cost cell phone microscope to diagnose malaria, study of strategic placement of insect-eating plants to reduce insect-borne diseases, and investigation of nanoparticles to release Axay when they come in contact with human sweat. The grants support research across 18 countries and 6 continents. You can take that down. We're just going to let the family sit on that. You might have to run this back. Like I said, I would encourage you to reach out to us at B1AG@gmail.com if you want these documents yourself. These aren't Photoshopped. These aren't doctored. They are in chronological order. As we're here in winter 2021, we have to ask the question, doing research, how did we get here? And then when we think about the concept of compensatory code, now what do we do to counter it? We see that there is a definite value in using plants to solve problems. Here at B1AG, we believe by everybody being able to at least know how to produce their own food and what to look for when you're producing your own food, that's a start. That's why we promote healthyblackfood.com. It's not the end all be all of learning how to produce food, but at healthyblackfood.com, we are very strategic in particular about starting from a seed, understanding the basics of what it takes to grow a plant. We see that billions and billions of dollars are being put into using plants something the earth produces naturally that all of us have access to. All of our ancestors were the original researchers of what our body can take to be healthy and what we need to stay away from. When we have this conversation, whether you're talking about in a university setting, whether you're talking about the School of Hard Knocks, are we a research-based people? When we think about solutions, when we think about the issues and problems that our communities face, are we taking a research approach to solving them? Because we see that there are a lot of bags. Over this last year, we've had a lot of these challenges to get us to do all of these crazy things. Many times they're deleterious to either your reputation or your body. And so, are we creating bags to incentivize people in all of the areas where melanated people exist to research? Now, what is the best way to grow food in small places? What is the best way to grow food in areas where we might not get a lot of sunshine? Are we maximizing our understanding of urban agriculture? Are we looking at ways to recreate atmospheres to grow food?
Again, if you'd like the slideshow that we had today, go to B1AgHipHop@gmail.com and we will happily send this slideshow to you so you can have this information to mull over for yourself. Nothing happens by chance, y'all. All this is planned. Everything is thought out. Everything is researched behind closed doors and then released to the public. And this and this is not something we're making up. We're showing you the actual articles. This is public information. This isn't just us giving us some kind of spooky dooky theories. We're showing you. The problem I see there's a good thing and a bad thing with what I see with the plant-based or edible vaccines. Like they said, the good thing is that you're avoiding the needle for those that are needle adverse. Okay, cool. The bad part, I think, is that if you put it in food, there could be a chance they may put it in food and you not know it. There could be a chance they put it in food and you're not aware. Or you're not, you say if you don't want it, they slip it in your sandwich. They slip it in your salad. They slip it in your fries. And what's interesting enough is that this guy, this Gates guy, and I'm not talking about Kevin Gates, this Gates guy, he actually has the means to literally slip this into our food system. He provides McDonald's with the potatoes, carrots, and onions. He grows that for McDonald's. So he literally could put this stuff in these jabby meals, and the world would not even be aware. It's one thing if you want to take this this experimental therapy, that's fine. But if you don't want to and you're refusing to, and then they slip it and give it to you anyway, that's a problem. That's almost like those date slipping something into somebody's drink. You know, I look at that along the same lines. So we need to be aware. That's why we need to be aware, family, of the possibilities, the capabilities, and capacity of what can be done, what's going on, what's growing on, and what we can do for ourselves to make sure that we are truly safe.
You know, once again, with science and any research on any level, well, human error is a factor. If you're going to be conscientious and objective about solving a problem, you always have to factor in human error. I have this great intention. I know all of these people don't, you know, the needles are just so scary. And so to make this easier for the consumer, we'll just put it in your lettuce. We'll just put it in this potato. We'll put it in your greens to help you. But unintended consequences, what if, you know, the pollinators come by this field while we're doing this research? And so the question is, are we working as hard? Are we working as hard? Sometimes I feel, I ain't gonna say guilty because guilty is not the word. It's easy for us to have this conversation, and which is necessary. We have to have these conversations, but you know, the thing is, as an individual, you have to put in 20 times more work than you do talking, right? These devils talk, they talk. But on the back end, and which is what I hope the family got from this presentation, they've been working on this for decades. It was 2 decades ago that it was presented to your government that, hey, you know, we're going to have a biological threat sometime 20 years from now. So we want to figure out what we're going to do to address this threat that we know is coming. You know, like I said, we here at B1AG, we don't like to deal in conspiracy. We do genuinely believe that, you know, the level that the melanated family is able to reclaim our place within agriculture, the food system, being able to produce food, being able to process it, being able to distribute it, and then selling the surplus once we've been able to feed our own. To that degree, we gain power over our lives to where maybe you don't want to take a chance with jabby greens. Maybe you don't want to take that chance. What happens when a bee from one field or pollinators from one field or the wind blows and now suddenly, okay, I got this family property. I've been growing hard, you know, organic. I've been putting in this work. But then this guy up the street got a grant because, see, we see a lot of money being thrown around to experiment in changing the natural order of things, right? And so we're not here to say it's right or wrong. I mean, I think the family understands where we stand. But let's look at this human error. Okay, and so this wind blows these seeds, these GMO seeds, these jabulated seeds into your plot that you were wanting to just keep it organic. You wasn't trying to counter the system. You wasn't going through nothing crazy other than, hey, this is how I want to run my operation. And so what happens is I can raise my kids just as respectable, but if they're in a setting where the other kids are contaminated or bad, guess what's going to rub off on them? And so the same things apply when you think about the ecosystem that we live in. When we think about the shipping disruptions, we think about the supply chains. One of the reoccurring themes of this research is how to commercialize. I think Trevor Noah got in trouble the other day because he was pointing out, like, the CEO of one of these companies, like, man, y'all are making a lot of money. Y'all kind of have a conflict of interest. And I think it's very interesting. Mainstream media literally just put this out on December the 7th that the edible ABJ is even a thing, right? But like I said, through this presentation, we see that, okay, this was decades in the making. And this wasn't brought to the public attention till what, 2 years later, once we're at Omicron, right? And so, you know, once again, trying to frame things in this conversation, are we thinking long term? Are we thinking, okay, we see that somebody is going to spend 20, 30, 40 years in building up to something, building the solutions to a problem. Maybe they created it, maybe they didn't, but, you know, they're just psychics and they knew that this this novel viral threat was going to come. And so as a melanated family, you know, we want our threat to be that we're dominant on this planet. We're able to exert ourselves within the land. We're able to take advantage of natural resources and be the most, what does Elder Nilly Fuller say? Universal man and woman, bringing justice to the world. And to do it for the world, some people, oh, we want to love everybody. To love everybody, you got to love ourselves first. We have to care more about keeping melanated people healthy than Gates, than these foundations, than all of these people that are putting all of this money in all of these other ways of helping. If you, not to digress, I imagine the money that's gone into this research is way more than what reparations would have been. And so that tells you something right there, family. I will pay more to see how I can, make this plant medical than actually making it rain, than actually giving restorative justice to those who are the original farmers, the original producers. Are we going to match this research with melanated-based research? It doesn't take a lab coat. It doesn't take beakers. It doesn't take microscopes. It doesn't take all of these because our ancestors mastered it with no computers. And that's how civilization was able to thrive. When our ancestors did the research. Now, okay, I put this in the ground. It took X amount of time for me to now have a product that I can eat. What did I have to do to the ground? And you had to do this over many years to see what worked best. I realized this poop. And so these cows, they poop. And I realized the areas where these cows poop, the plants grew more. And so how can I take this cow poop? What other animals have manure that I can put in the ground and make things grow? Oh, I see that these fish that I just happened to throw to the side, I saw that these plants grew better where this fish was. And so when we think about research isn't an overnight thing. It isn't an acute activity. It's planting that seed. This is why we do healthyblackfood.com. Let us plant the seed. In melanated family, there's no business like grow business. When you understand the concept of what it means to start a plant from the seed and actually see the fruit or vegetable that comes from it, you start to understand a whole lot of other processes. You get a better grasp of time. We're in this microwave age where everything comes to us fast. We want information immediately. These people didn't get their research findings overnight. They spent decades on it. So here at B1AG, we're like, okay, hey, we need to spend the next decade, next 2 decades, next 3 decades figuring out how can we make the most optimal food system that is pro-melanated people. It ain't got to do with being against another group. This got to do with us being the best that we can be. We've already been great. We started civilizations. So how do we get black to that? How do we get black to our essence? How do we get black to the garden?
It is.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up because this is how it works. People follow the money, follow the money. You got a lot of doctors right now that have come up with all sorts of different alternative ways to treat the thing going on. But what is keeping them from releasing this information to their patients or the public? It's the bag. Many have been incentivized. I know this professionally. Hey, if I'm paying your institution to research this product, I'm not paying you to come back to me and tell me it's bad. I'm not paying you to come back and tell me, hey, this is unhealthy. I'm paying you to check off so I can commercialize this. And if you like this 6-figure salary you're getting, if you like this prestige of being a doctor, this prestige of being able to get your research published, then you're going to tell me that this is good, even if it's going to contaminate all of the other crops, even if it's going to get people sick. And so you brought that up about agriculture. So what happens if the melanated farmers, we're having this conversation in 2021, aren't supported from the grassroots? We understand that the livestock industry is going to take a hit when we think about carbon emissions. Okay, I'm going to start taxing you for every head of cow that you have on your land because they're emitting methane. And so we know the majority of melanated farmers who are profitable are into livestock. We know over the next few years that industry is going to severely change. I'm not going to say good or bad, but it's going to change. So what happens when the only source of revenue you get is based on, okay, I ain't going to help you if you just want to grow organic. But if you want to grow Javi meals, I got a bag for you then. So what are you going to do? And when I say that, it's a rhetorical question. You have a family to feed. You have this land. If you don't grow anything on it, you still owe property taxes. You still have expenses. And so as a melanated family, when we talk about what can we do, make it rain on the black farmers. We've been, I don't know how much more proof we need, whether we're even in the agricultural world or not. We eat. All of us eat. And we see the links that mainstream agriculture is going to keep, certain resources from melanated farmers. We have enough fiat. When we have this conversation about crypto, there's a lot of people very knowledgeable in the way to make the current work, the currency. And so how can we generate this currency? How can we divert some of this currency to the melanated farmers, to melanated operations? How can we innovate different pop-up markets? How can we make sure, okay, we're going to learn how these high tunnels work, these closed systems work, just in case my neighbor, wants to do the jabby meals, and we don't necessarily want to do that. And so all of these are solutions. Maybe we take on growing indoors. This is another thing we talk about at healthyblackfood.com. There are some vegetables, herbs that you can grow indoors. The people already in this field understand it. Here at B1AG, we're not trying to preach to the choir. We're trying to reach out to the people who, maybe this came across your timeline and you didn't think about it. So our job is to contextualize it. This is a rabbit hole that only gets deeper, but it doesn't have to be that deep if we understand what it is we're growing, how food is created, what this system looks like. And to the degree that we each find our niches, because ag is a team sport, to the degree we can each find our niches, whether as a producer, whether as a consumer, whether as a distributor, whether as a marketer, whether as the scientists who are doing the research to see now what is the best way to grow it. To that degree, it doesn't matter what anybody else does.
Again, if you would like the slides that we use in today's show, hit us up at B1AgHipHop@gmail.com, and we'll gladly get that to you. Research it for yourself. See it for yourself. These are the Facts-innations. Again, B1AG. We're fighting against this algorithm by pushing the black algorithm. We want our people to be on top of what's going on with our food system. We want our people to be in the best health, in the best shape, vibrating at the highest levels so we can fight off anything that comes our way. That is the way, and has always been the way since way back in the day.
Pushing the black algorithm. Ancestors, they mastered the systems. We raising young bosses, no victims. Planting that knowledge curriculum. Blessing the roots with the nutrients. The darker the berry, like Nubians. Dropping receipts like I'm Julian. The streets with that food like Peruvian. Trapping the herbs and the fruits and the veggies. CSA boxes, my package is heavy. Ship across town in the bed of my Chevy. Printing them up, growing hard for that baby. If you stay ready, you ain't gotta scramble. Bet on black farmers and growers, no gamble. Reclaiming our bankers, the gamers in shambles. Blessed with that melanin, carry the miracle. Mothers and fathers of civilization. Black to the garden with food cultivation. Building back better through black innovation. B1 community growing the nation. Genetically designed to be the dopest. Stoking that growth mindset. Codified, now we focus farming on track on track. Be the fam, break bread with them. Pushing that B1 algorithm. Now watch me get them, watch me get them. Pushing that B1 algorithm. Be the fam, break bread with them. Pushing that B1 algorithm. Watch me get them, watch me get them. Pushing that B1 algorithm.
Medicago develops plant-based jab. We presented you with the Facts-innations. Please take this information and pass it along to all your people. Let everybody know what's going on. Have discussions on your own. Think about the possibilities of what could happen. Think about solutions that you can come up with for yourself and for your family to keep yourself safe, well-fed, and healthy. It's going to be up to us, because even though they're coming out with this now, we showed that these plans were 30, 40 years in the making. So we don't just think about what they're thinking about for the next 40 years. We need to be in the same mindset, and we need to make sure that we're going to have our seat at our own dinner table eating real food. So if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Here at B1AG, we're in the mind frame of staying ready. Learn the ways of the ant, always in preparation. We always need to be in preparation in a state of readiness, or being in a state of, if we were not prepared, in the state of getting prepared to be ready. And at the end of the day, on this living earth that we live in, if you really, really want to know something, what's the best thing they can do, bro?
If you really want to know something, each one reach one, each one teach one. Let's plant these seeds with our young researchers. Research doesn't come with the age or title. Research comes with there's a problem and I'm going to come up with a solution. And so if you really want to know something, take off the lab coats, put on some work boots, and learn how to grow something.
There it is. Thank y'all for sitting in for another episode of B1AG Daily Bread Podcast. I'm John Henry Harris. We have Farmer Brown EMC. Hey, let's grow harder. Let's grow harder. Let's think ahead. Let's plan ahead. Let's plant these seeds and let's reap that harvest. Again, I'm John Henry Harris. We have Farmer Brown EMC, B1AG Daily Bread Podcast. Until we see you again, peace.